This episode of the Capsule in Conversation is brought to you by WeCure. A leader in health tourism, WeCure offers specialist EMDR trauma treatment whilst you reflect and heal in the Mediterranean. Reset your mind and well-being. Speak to WeCure. WeCure.co.uk/capsule. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Capsule in Conversation. I'm Natalie Anderson, and this week I'm joined by mentor and CEO of global empowerment platform Forward Ladies, Griselda Togobo, as we talk women in business, balanced leadership, and creating space for all in the workplace. So sit yourselves down, listen up, and get ready to join in with our conversation. Hello all, I hope you're all well. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is lovely to have you with us. How are you all doing? Have you all got back into the swing of things yet? I'll admit I do quite like a bit of routine. I think it makes me more productive. I mean, I'm not sure if that's actually true, but it makes me feel better all the same. And we've all got to work smarter these days, as the past 6 months has had such a huge impact on our economy. We really do need to get our businesses fully functioning again. And helping us on the road to recovery is today's very special guest, Forward Ladies CEO, the brilliant Griselda Togobo. Hello, Griselda.
Hello, Natalie. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being with me. I mean, we did try and do this podcast during the lockdown, didn't we?
Yes.
And we were, we came up against Zoom and Wi-Fi connection and all those things that I'm sure many
children.
And children popping in and out. And so we made the decision at the time to let's just wait and get back in the studio. So I'm genuinely so happy to actually see you and be here with you today. How has it been for you the last couple of weeks getting back into the swing of things?
I've learned so many lessons about life, about myself in the last few months. And one of the things I've learned is that it's okay to go slow sometimes, and it's okay to rest and take care of yourself. So that's what I've been focused on doing. I've just decided to just surrender and enjoy the moment and to stop fighting the COVID battle. So it's been an eye-opening experience. It's been so relaxing. It's been great for family time. But yeah, it's taught me some life lessons as well.
Do you think that prior to the lockdown that you were probably, like a lot of us, guilty of going too fast, too hard, trying to prove a point, trying to be so dedicated to making a change that it also then, it starts to eat away at you? Because you are obviously trying to make change out there for women and to get women to the forefront of leadership. And in taking on that battle, you've probably, like you said, worked probably too hard.
I have been working extremely hard. So taking it back to when I had my first child, he's 10 now.
Yeah.
And so I started my business 10 years ago, and I cannot say I have had a proper rest. I've taken the 2-week holiday and I've gone on holiday, but this is the longest I've gone without really doing much work. Mm-hmm. And like everybody else who was, business was good. There were opportunities. I was traveling all over the place, and I love travel. I love my work. So I always said yes. I've been guilty of working myself too hard. And I've also learned that self-care can be up-leveled. So my version of self-care before COVID has been completely transformed.
Oh, so what was it before COVID?
So before COVID, I did the usual thing. I went to the gym 2 to 3 times a week. I was eating whatever I could prepare. I was eating a lot of carbs. I didn't really pay attention to labels. It's food. But then since COVID, actually, because I got the COVID, and I had an experience. I'm going to be very candid with your guest and share some of the experience I had. So we were poorly, we recovered, thank God. We were tested, so it was clear that we had the antibody. And I got a call from the NHS, and they asked if I would donate blood. And I said, yes, of course, a good deed. Why not? And they asked my weight.
Oh!
And when I said it, they said, no, thank you. Oh. I had a shock. I'd never been rejected for anything in my life. And I thought, oh my God, I've let myself go. I've never watched my weight because I've always done everything I've wanted to do. I've run marathons, half marathons, done the Yorkshire Three Peaks. I'm very fit. I'm fat is fit.
Yeah.
But then I realized that actually that's not good enough. in a world where we have disease and, and if my kids got poorly, how am I going to donate blood for them? So it just really set me on a path where I've been watching what I've been eating. I've just been more conscious. And I've realized that a lot of the things I was doing weren't really nourishing.
That's a massive wake-up call, though. And again, like you say, for your self-esteem, not just from a health level, a health perspective, but you're thinking you're doing all the right things. And maybe that is a trap at the minute, I think, culturally.
Yes.
We do think we're doing the right things, but actually we're not, because we then do Netflix and chill and all. Do you know what I mean? Again, I'm very much all about self-care, but the way it's packaged is kind of encouraging us to, I don't know. It's
Go and buy some more clothes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? We've got to obviously take care of ourselves, but then there's a point where, exercise, it is still taking care of yourself. I know it's laborious for many people. It is for me. I love running, but ultimately I'm like, I've got to go out for a run and it's raining and it's cold and I don't want to do it. But ultimately, it's so beneficial, both from a mental health perspective and like you've just said, from the perspective of, actually, I want to donate blood, or I need to be, looking after my kids or whatever. But gosh, what a wake-up call. So
it has been.
In terms of, your experience with COVID then, how did what was that? Like, were you really frightened? How did you feel during the whole thing?
At the time I was worried before we caught it that we were going to catch it because my husband works in a hospital.
Yeah.
But then when we got it and it just dragged on. It's like a flu, but it just goes on a bit too long.
Yeah.
And so then you start to worry. Because with a flu, you get well after a week or two and it's over. But with the COVID, it just carries on for a bit too long. I think that's what's a bit worrying about it. We didn't have any of the usual symptoms they're saying in the news. We didn't have a cough. My husband had chills. I didn't have a temperature. I just had extreme fatigue. So it was different for every member of the family. And I think that's probably what scared us the most. But then we had the opportunity to get tested, and which proved that we were positive, and then subsequently had the opportunity to be tested and realized we had the antibody. But now looking back, I'm glad we had it then.
Yeah. Because
I know so many people are still so scared and so worried. But because I have the antibody now, I just feel a bit like a superwoman.
But we'll send Griselda and she can go.
I can donate blood now.
Yeah, you let her go. She's got the antibodies. Griselda, that's just, for me, what shines out there is like your attitude to even just like negative situations. You'll be able to turn it around and put a positive light on it, and how you can take it forward. You've had the most amazing career. You've been an electrical engineer, an accountant, a mentor, and as I said in our introduction, you are now the CEO of global empowerment platform Forward Ladies, which looks to develop female business leaders across the world. I think this is such an amazing thing, what you're doing, and your platform is just incredible. And the women that you get involved, from all over the globe, it's incredible. Just tell me a little bit more about it from your perspective.
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of women's stuff before. Yeah. But a few years ago, I decided to really step it up and really contribute in a way that had impact and meaning for a lot of people. And for me, that space is the leadership space, the self-leadership space, as well as the leading of the other people's space, because we still don't have enough women in leadership roles. And because of that, a lot of us see leadership as something that men do. We wouldn't admit it and say it out loud, but that's why we don't opt into it, because we think leadership is a chore, it's too much work, it's too much difficulty. But actually, that's where all the opportunities and the transformation that we need comes from. So I made a decision to pivot the business rather than just doing women's work generally, to really focus on the leadership space. And that really hit a nerve with a lot of the clients we work with, which tend to be FTSE 100, large organizations who have very smart, technical-minded engineers, aerospace engineers, chemical engineers, all these fabulous women, but who don't own their voice and the space they're in because it's male dominated.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do that work, and it's taken me on that journey myself. Because, once you start to teach others, you learn more and you develop yourself. So we've been doing that, and we have clients all over the world, from Africa to the US to Europe. We have members all over the world. And did I dream of it? Did I think it was going to be like that? No, I just said yes to every opportunity that came up, and I went for it. And I just focused on making a difference for every single person I was blessed to have the opportunity to work with.
What do you think is most important when it comes to leadership?
I think it's the self-leadership, because you cannot step out and be something that you're not privately. You cannot be confident in public if in your private life you're not a confident person. And I think for a lot of us women, that journey really starts with how we see ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, the labels we choose to call ourselves, and whether we own the labels that people choose to ascribe to us. So for me, it's really about that self-discovery, that self-awareness, that identity piece. And once you nail that, you're unstoppable. It doesn't matter whether you're black in a white world or a woman in a male world, or you're trans, or it just really doesn't matter, because you own everything that you are. And it's just a powerful thing to see.
Oh my God, I'm so like this. I don't know how you guys feel at home, but I'm like, okay, I've got it. I've got the power. I mean, this is why you're so brilliant at obviously what you do, and why so many people come to you, because you can, even just by having this little chat now, I feel so inspired to go and own the world. And I think it takes people to say that to you, to give you permission. And it's like, you know, what you were saying about self-leadership, you kind of have to go, no, I don't need permission.
Yes.
I'm allowed to do this anyway. I don't need your approval or your permission to do this. I'm allowed to just be me.
Yes.
And so many of us don't do that because we're conditioned not to do that. You be in your place. That's your, you know, even through society, whether it's like, you know, a woman's place is in the kitchen. And obviously we've fought hard against that. But places for so many different people and kinds of people, you know, oh, you're only good at this one thing, so you stay in that box.
I still hear that voice in so many grown women I speak to. The voice they've been told by either a teacher or a parent or a friend when they were little, that you're not creative.
Yeah.
You're not you're not good with English. You can't lead, you can't play football. I hear those voices coming out in conversations all the time. And when I look at my little girl now, she is 4, and she is bossy. She tells me every second she does something, Mommy, I'm so good at this. I'm brilliant at this. Yes. And we all used to say that. We had that. And then there was a point where we thought, no, there's something about me that doesn't quite measure up.
Yeah.
And then we start to reduce ourselves to fitting, and we still never fit in.
Actually, I'm going to tell myself off now, because I've corrected my son for that before, and that makes me feel bad. But it's really interesting to have this conversation, because when my son has gone, Mummy, I'm brilliant at this, and I'm going, well, don't get ahead of yourself. You know, ultimately, you're very good at it. But if you show off like that, you know, you might upset people. And those words have come out of my mouth. That is me being very honest. But actually, what I've done there is I've kind of started that dilution process, and I feel really angry at myself now. But again, I'm so glad that we've had this conversation, because when you think about it, it's those kind of comments that do stick with you and that inherently become part of you. That now, as you know, women in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s are now trying to unlearn.
Yes.
When you have your members come to you, you must have to do so much. It must be so emotional for a lot of them, you know, the self-discovery. Tell me a little bit about what your membership, kind of the process of what women go through.
So we have different tiers of services we offer. There's a general membership. You can go on the website. You can join as a free member. You can join a power circle and engage with women. We have a premium version where you can then start to create your own power circles and build communities and conversations around the things and the issues that you're passionate about. And then we have a leadership program, which is a 6-month program that we run. That is more hands-on, and it's in cohorts and small groups. And we run that with cohorts of about 10, maximum 18 women. And they tend to be women who are already emerging into leadership roles. And what you will find is that everybody comes into the program thinking, I'm going to tell them what to do. We're going to tell them who to be. And we don't. Because we ask them the first question, what do you want? Who do you want to be? And you find a lot of women haven't given much thought to that in a long time. Because a lot of their ideas of what they should be and want is based on what society is prescribing. So then when you're given the chance that if you had a magic wand and you sat down and you could recreate a future for yourself, what would that be? And a lot of them don't even want to be in the jobs they're in now.
I could understand that. Yeah.
No, they don't. But they've never given themselves permission. So once you start to challenge them and say, actually, you can do anything you want to do. Honestly, I believe that. So if you just allowed yourself, just imaginary basis, what would you be doing? You'd be shocked.
Women, we've been fighting for our place at the table for a long, long time now. And again, thanks to people like you and the programs that you run, we are starting to make a change. But do you think it is getting any easier for us, or do you think it's still a struggle?
It is still a big struggle. And I think the pandemic hasn't helped.
Yeah.
Just yesterday I was looking at some research, and women have been twice as likely to have mental health issues during the pandemic. Because of the responsibilities of family, homeschooling, juggling. And also because of the gender pay gap, women are more likely to be earning less than their partners. So they are the ones who take on the full burden because the guy tends to be the breadwinner. So when you look at all that, throughout this whole pandemic, women have been twice as likely to be furloughed or have their contracts terminated. And looking at the industries as well, it's industries that are predominantly manned with women. So retail and hospitality and fashion. So women have been really, really hit.
And like the beauty industry,
It
took so long for the beauty industry to come back. My sisters, both of them are in it. And, that was so unfair. And to feel like the government were just like, that's very frivolous.
Yes.
And it's not frivolous because that beauty industry provides so much for so many people. It contributes to so much of our economy. There's a lot of independent businesses there, independent women running their own businesses, employing other women and men. And just how the comparison between like the industries, like you say, like the plumbers and the builders and predominantly male industries.
They're traditional.
Compared with the beauty industry, it is incredibly unfair. So actually when it's probably the pandemic has put a spotlight onto people's attitudes and people at the top. Like the government, for God's sake, it was infuriating seeing people just going, so you can go for, I think it was a shave and something, but you can't go for your eye. But you can't do that. Oh, it was just ridiculous. What more needs to be done for women to stand an equal chance of getting more superior roles in the workplace?
So I am a great believer that first of all, we women have to put ourselves forward and not take no for an answer. And that's not saying that it's easy, but that's just saying that we just have to want it. We have to really want it. And we have to believe that we can do it alongside other things. Because, when you run a massive company, even if you're the CEO and there's a lot of work and responsibility, you still get to delegate a lot of that. And I think a lot of us think it's too much work, so we don't really opt in for that. So my first thing is, until you've tried it, you can't knock it. So just try it, one. And two, when it comes to businesses, I think a lot of the responsibilities we are still facing is around the caring gap and childcare and the nurturing. We women want to be with our babies sometimes. Some men want to be with their babies too, but the workplace isn't giving parental leave to enable them to do that. So we need men taking up more parental leave opportunities and having part-time and flexi work opportunities to juggle with the women. Because otherwise it's women in part-time work and flexi work, and we've been the most impacted with the pandemic as well. So that needs to happen. And again, when it comes to pound for pound, the gender pay gap needs to be closed, because when decisions are being made about who stays home, it's always the person that's earning less. and that turns again to be the woman. So we need to equalize the gender pay gap so that women are earning as much as men. So when it comes to who stays home, it's made on a more objective basis, other than just, you earn less, so stay home. So for instance, with me and my husband is a doctor, and I always say he is better with the kids. He can save them. I can't. I couldn't research them.
But you can do mouth to mouth. I can't.
No, he's safe. The kids are safer with him. But when I had my second child, the NHS wouldn't give him parental leave. And so we just thought, well, we'll just carry on. So we carried on. I carried on working, and we made it work. But those are the changes that really need to happen. But I think we women we should not be afraid to be the difficult woman in the room. That's a label I totally own now.
Oh, well, this is it, right? And I think after I chatted to you the first time, that's kind of something that I really took away from it was I'm going to be 40 next year, and I've always fought against a label of being bossy. I've been called bossy my whole life, so bossiness. And I'm not bossy. I am bossy. I'm really bossy, and I'm okay with that now.
It's okay.
But for a long time, I didn't want to be the difficult one. Didn't want to be anyone that ruffled feathers or, caused trouble. Even when you can see things aren't right, it always felt safer to be, nice. And actually, that's not helpful, and it doesn't sit well in my conscience either. If I'm keeping my mouth shut about something that I think is not right, it's uncomfortable. So I am starting to own that label now, and I wonder, does that come with age? Does that come with experience? Does that come with being frustrated after so long? But the ownership of even being called a bitch or being called this, and oh my God, and you panic about it. Back in the early 80s, 90s, I remember Madonna being so like, this is who I am, and she was a bit of a different level of it, like a trailblazer. But actually, now I think, she had something to say, and she wasn't afraid to do it. Yes. She kind of went out there and claimed it, and we need more of that.
We do.
When I say a normal level, on an everyday level.
Yes. Because sometimes we think the kindest thing to do is not to say anything. But that is not really kind, though. If I came to you and I had some green stuff in my teeth, and because you didn't want to offend me, you said, "Oh, Griselda, you look just fine." And I took a photo, and it ended up being seen by 1 million people. That was not the kindest thing to me. When I look back at it, that wasn't you being kind to me. So I really try and surround myself with people who can be kind to me in a brutal way. Because then I can change, and I can be better, and I can take it. You learn to take it. What's the point of surrounding yourself with people who just say you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're perfect? It doesn't do anything for us. It helps the ego in that moment, but in the long term, it really doesn't help. So I think kindness comes in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes being kind to people is, not saying anything, but I think usually being kind to people is learning how to give them the information in a way that doesn't offend.
Yeah, like tough love, isn't it?
Tough love.
You can be, again, as you say, you can take somebody to one side and say something. Yes. You don't necessarily need to blurt it out and embarrass or humiliate somebody, but you can definitely be on their side in a way that it's kind of keeping them aware of the room. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, okay, I can either send you out there, as you said, with your teeth or with green, or I can make you as informed as I am.
Yes.
So giving them the knowledge.
That is love.
Yeah, you're right. It is. It definitely is. Do you think as well that the fact that we've had to fight so much for our position in the workplace, and also that it's so limited, that's led to so many women going off and starting their own businesses?
Yes. I think it's an option that gives you the flexibility that you wouldn't have sometimes in some large organizations or small businesses. So certainly for me, the catalyst for me leaving was asking the partner of the firm I work for if I could work from home. And now everybody's working from home. And he said no, and I thought, do I really want to invest a lot of time and effort in this firm, not even knowing that there are any guaranteed rewards at the end of it. So I walked away. And a lot of women are doing that. The challenge we face is being able to up-level that, because we are not raising enough funds to employ people and to invest in our businesses in a way that gets it over that hump. So you find a lot of women's businesses failing after the first 5 years. So that is something we really need to work on. We are risk adverse. There's a lot of research around our risk aversion to raising money and all that. And I know personally, I shy away from that. But then when you look at the vision you have and what you're trying to achieve, it's just allow yourself to take one calculated risk at a time. Otherwise, we're not going to get there. And one of the things that make me feel so sorry, well, not sorry, but sad, it seems the sacrifice that women have made over time. So we have a big awards program, and I see businesses come in through the awards program and win awards, and sometimes a few years down the line, they disappear. Oh. So I've seen that cycle as well. And so I think you need to set yourself up to win. And in setting yourself up to win, for me, it's really around people. Surround yourself with great counsel, like people who can give you solid, honest, kind counsel. Surround yourself with peers who can support you, who get the challenges you're facing, where you're trying to go. Not people who always tell you that your life is perfect. Why are you striving for more? Are you greedy or something? And just people who give you that mental support and that opportunity to have fun as well along the way. Then we can keep growing.
Yeah, I mean, within Forward Ladies, you run an academy program which is dedicated to leadership, and we have touched on that. And you provide, executive coaching for women that are looking to get into the business world. But you also run tailor-made initiatives for those from minority backgrounds. I mean,
Yes.
Did you feel that this was a really essential extension, given that, BAME women face a whole other set of prejudices? Not only is it hard, being a woman getting into the room, but then coming from a different background as well. Did you feel that was really important?
Yeah, so when you speak to some Black women, I won't speak for all Black women because my experience is very different. You find that when you're in a minority, you don't want to focus on that. You don't want to become typecast as the person who is Black and is always talking about minority issues. But then based on the successes of the women's program we had with one of our clients, it became really apparent that they needed to up level and do more around the whole diversity piece. Because the business was based in a very diverse area and they had no representation of that diversity on their team. And I said, why don't we, and there was a HR director at the time who said, why don't we pilot what you've been doing for the women and do it for the BAME group? So we use exactly the same model. So our women's program is based on identity, impact, and influence. And the BAME program is based on exactly that, because you realize that when you're from a minority background, your identity tends to take on a different, bigger role than you would even want to admit, because there's the identity that you believe you have, and there's the identity that society is telling you that you should be because you're Black. So again, it's about owning that whole space and creating an identity that you're comfortable with, that you can own, that you can grow in. And then we have the influence piece and the impact piece. So the difference with the program we created for BAME is that we bring in, for instance, one of the speakers we'll have will be an imam, who is a professional lawyer, because people just connect with that from a cultural perspective. They want to speak to people who understand the culture. And that isn't always available in the standard leadership programs. So again, it's been a joy creating that program and being there for the cohort of people, because every time it's for 6 months. Before we finish, people get promoted, people earn more money, people decide to pursue new careers. It's just amazing to see the transformation that happened. You go in trying to teach leadership, but people come out at the other end discovering themselves. And that makes them so powerful.
That's what I mean about, like, when we were chatting earlier, just that, how it must be so emotional. They must go through so much on that program of 6 months, because it's, that is it is a long period of time, but actually it's still short as well. And when you give somebody lifetime.
Yes.
and what they must be discovering about themselves and the work that they have to do. Because I know like some of the questions we've talked about you ask those questions, what is your identity? Yeah. What is your impact and your influence? Who can you influence?
Yes.
And you're having to really look deep down and go, okay, what can I bring? What can I offer? And there's a lot of work inside you that must be so just emotional. And yet when you come out the other side, again, for you, it must be so rewarding.
It is. And the thing, I have to say this for women, and particularly from the women who are from BAME groups, we've had a lot of issues around buried childhood trauma. I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist. It just comes out during the program. There's a lot of abuse as well. People have been through abusive relationships, and it all just comes out. And initially, I used to think, oh my God, that wasn't what we were supposed to talk about. We were just going to talk about work. But people just open up to me and they tell me all sorts. So now I just sit with it and let them lead the way. They tell me, and then sometimes what I have to do is to schedule another call to talk about work.
Yeah.
Because they just go there. They're doing the work. There's actually a fantastic book by Katie Bryony. I think it's called The Work.
Yeah.
And they're doing the work. It's all about the emotional work. And they're discovering all these things. And they want to go there. And so I just have to hold their hands and go there with them. And they deal with it because I have nothing to give them. But once they own that, it reflects our work.
But again, for your role, I mean, you're in an area that, again, is like you've just said, it's not your specialist subject. You're not trained in that area. But as a leader and as a good leader, you're allowing them to see themselves, to then let them go forward and be good leaders themselves.
Yes.
And I think, I'm sure I saw it on your Instagram on Forward Ladies where it was a quote about leadership. And it was like, leadership isn't telling somebody what to do.
No.
It's more about helping them get to a place where they can help others in what to do.
Yes.
And I think that shines through so much from you personally. I mean, going back to your experiences, you began your career as an electrical engineer. I mean, this is quite a male-dominated sector. How was that for you?
So I've always wanted to be an engineer because my mom had a construction company.
Oh my God, I love it. Yes.
My mom, if I tell you my mom's story, we will be wiping tears. So my mom was the first daughter in the family who decided that it wasn't a good investment to send girls to school.
Right.
So her youngest brother was sent to school and he was supposed to come and look after the village. So this was in Ghana. I grew up in Ghana. My mom was born in Ghana. And she defied all those odds. And even though she did not go to school, not a single day did she step in school, she ended up running a construction company that employed her brother and other engineers and looked after the village. She did amazingly well. And one of the things my mom taught me was when we were growing up, she had all girls. We were 6 girls and 1 boy. And she said, my family denied me sight, vision because of my gender. But I want you girls to have the eyes to see the world and to do anything you want to do. So education was so important for her. And so she sent us to school. She would sacrifice everything to send us to school. I would not be here without my mom, without the education I had, because it gave me some confidence. And I also wanted to see the world. I could read it, I could write, I could see the world. So I've seen women being defied of all opportunities and rising above that. And now when I look at people like my mom who defy those odds, and I look at the society we have now, we still have it really tough, but we still have it so good because there's so much damage women can do. If we chose to be brave, damage in a good sense, like we have all the tools. There's so much we could do if we weren't trying so hard to be nice and to fit in and not intimidate the men.
I'm happy with this. That is what I'm taking this today. There is so much damage we can do. I love this. Oh, I absolutely love it. In terms of your own, I mean, we touched on it earlier, but to protect that view on life that you have and to keep that that thought process and to keep that self-belief. What do you do to protect that? You know, there must be days when you sometimes go, I just can't do it. I can't face it. Like how do you go about that?
It comes down to the people I surround myself with. So I have an advisory board. I call it an advisory board, but it's really handpicked people that I love spending time with. One is Sahar Hashimi, the founder of Coffee Republic. If I have any issue, I can call Sahar and she has time for me. I'm so blessed. There's Bill Henry, who was a partner in PwC, and he gives me that perspective because some of our clients are these big companies and you just need to see what do you think they're thinking in this response. So he gives me that perspective. And also he's just a lovely human being and to spend time with. And then there's Rachel Hannon, who is an angel investor in Yorkshire as well. And I've known Rachel for years and she talked me through buying Forward Ladies. She's talked me through a lot of business decisions I've made. So Rachel is also on hand. So I have these 3 core group of people that I touch base with. And we've developed the relationship to the point where I can be honest with them with both my private life and professional and work. So that works really well. But I have 6 sisters. That's a lot of girlfriends. So I have them as well. I speak to my family every single day, several times a day. I have a group of girlfriends as well that I check in with. So I have a lot of support. I mean, I'm very, very fortunate. When people connect with me, they want to help me. And I just make the most of it. So I have great support. So when I have down days, I can call any one of these people and they will have time for me.
I mean, like, honestly, I could sit here all day and talk to you. I mean, we are literally running out of time, but I just feel like I want to enroll, I want to do this, I'm ready to go. And, you know, before we kind of finish up as well, within what do you want next for Forward Ladies? What would you like to see?
Wow, that's a brilliant question. So we need to have more impact because I think we do such great work, but not a lot of people know about us. And a lot of that has been down to my personality as well. I've been hiding.
Yeah. You hiding?
In plain sight. I do just enough to be visible, but I don't push it. And so I'm owning that space more. So I would love to see, I mean, we have clients all over the world and I want to bring all those women together.
Yeah.
Because when I go to Kenya and I speak to the women there, they're building amazing businesses. And sometimes, for instance, Kenya, the technology in Kenya, they have M-Pesa that transfers money on the phone. We don't even have it in the UK. The world is just developing in silos and we don't know what other people are doing. And I'd love to be able to connect all the women I know and get them working together. So on our platform, we have a find a mentor, be a mentor-mentee side of it, which is where I'm trying to make these connections.
Bringing the world and all its women together. That's such an amazing message and brilliant for us to round off on. I mean, we have run out of time for today, Griselda, but honest to God, I could keep you here all day and I just feel so inspired and I'm sure everybody at home will as well. I mean, I hope everyone at home has found Griselda's chat today insightful. For more from Griselda and Forward Ladies, you can visit their website, www.forwardladies.com, and see more of the amazing work that they do and the programs that they run. Do check it out. Honestly, it's such an amazing space. You can also catch up with us at our website, www.thecapsule.co.uk, where you'll find more wellbeing, fashion and beauty. And you can catch up with our previous podcast episodes by visiting the In Conversation page and subscribing to any of our podcast channels and YouTube. Do leave us your rates and reviews as we love hearing your feedback. If you're a social butterfly, you can also catch us on Instagram and Facebook at Official Capsule. I will be back next week with another lovely guest, but today all that's left for us to say is goodbye. So it's goodbye from Griselda.
Goodbye from me, and thank you so much, Natalie. You're doing such great work. Thank you.
Oh, and goodbye from me. This episode of The Capsule in Conversation was brought to you by WeCure. Specialists in EMDR, trauma and mindfulness therapy, WeCure offers one-of-a-kind treatments whilst you reflect and heal in the Mediterranean. Reset your mind and well-being. Speak to WeCure. wecure.co.uk/capsule.